It's Super Squad D Stream Break! Every day this week, we're gonna have fresh new streams delivered to you. Retro gaming, Fortnite, discussions, whatever you can imagine. Okay, well maybe not whatever you can imagine. But either way, join us every day for SSD Stream Break.
Pants back on, Blue Laser!
How could you possibly refer to these as pants?
Ha 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 ha! Cheat Commandos, riggedy roll!
That's not what we usually say.
Whatever, it's riggedy roll from now on. Buy all our playsets and toys! Hi, kids! I'm Crack Stuntman! I'm the voice of the gun shaver on Cheat Commandos, here with an important rap song about safety and spring break. Bust it! Well, you're a rich kid. Put your pants back on, Blue Laser!
How could you possibly refer to these as pants?
Ha 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 ha! Cheat Commandos, riggedy roll!
That's not what we usually say.
Whatever, it's riggedy roll from now on. Buy all our playsets and toys! Hi, kids! I'm Crack Stuntman! I'm the voice of the gun shaver on Cheat Commandos, here with an important rap song about safety and spring break. Bust it! Well, you're a rich kid living in the suburbs and there's not a whole lot to do. You stroll into the kitchen, and what do you find? A bunch of knives cold staring at you. So, kids, don't play with too many knives. Come on, Crack Stuntman. Gonna save some lives. It's spring break. Curly's running wild. Jet to the beach wearing the freshest styles. Meet a bunch of kids from Alabama. Beach volleyball, slamma-jamma. Putt-putt, go-karts, bungee jumping. Crack Stuntman keeps the bass bumping. Pooh, ha-ha-ha-ha, pooh, ha-ha-ha-ha, pooh, ha-ha-ha-ha, pooh, ha-ha-ha-ha, pooh, ha-ha-ha-ha, pooh, ha-ha-ha-ha, pooh, pooh, ha-ha-ha-ha-ha. Holla for $1. Shout for some clout. Somebody say holla for $1. Let's turn this party out. Bonfire on the beach and people start to dance. Find a fly Curly for some beach romance. But then a fresh honey comes walking by. How can a man choose between fresh and fly? And believe me, there is a difference. Throw your hands in the air for some high fives. And kids, don't play with too many knives. And I am out. Download all our #1 jams.
There's a classic Homestar Runner throwback. If anyone's into Homestar Runner, which I most certainly have been. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Stream Break. We're kicking off Stream Break here on Super Squad D. With a little bit more of our continuation of Ogre Battle 64, person of lordly caliber. Stream Break, we're going to be having, as I said in that video earlier. I'm sorry, not me. I mean our sexy narrator. Okay, it was me. Fine. In our video earlier, the introduction, we're going to be trying to do a stream every single day. Not trying, we're going to be doing it. Multiple streams even. There's probably going to be another one tonight. Stay tuned to SSD to see all that streamy goodness. That sounded disgusting, actually, after I said it. Wasn't planning on doing that, but it's just kind of where we are now. Whatever. Glad you could join us. Hey, look, there's Ogre Battle. Let's talk about this one a little bit. If you joined us, maybe, when was that? Thursday? Monday? Tuesday? Thursday? I forget. We started up playing Ogre Battle 64, person of lordly caliber. Now, this is the third Ogre Battle game to have been made, if I remember correctly. This series was created by Quest back in the 90s. It wasn't quite as popular as some of the other RPGs coming from Japan at the time. Final Fantasy. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but Final Fantasy being one of them. Dragon Quest. believe being the other major popular JRPG back in the day. Ogre Battle was developed by Quest, like I said. This particular game was actually brought over to North America and localized by Atlas, which I think is a pretty fascinating thing because Atlas is always been a little bit more of an obscure company, I feel like, unless you're a fan of the Persona series of games, which everyone should be. This, however, being the third game in the series, was the first game to not include a subtitle named after a Queen song, which is very interesting. The very first one was called Ogre Battle, March of the Black Queen, and the second one was Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together. Both drawing naming inspirations from Queen songs. Along with this, let's see. Yep. Alex there, Chad Bro Chill. Loves him some Atlas. Scott, as I know for a fact, is working through Persona 5 right now. And this was I guess this was the first Atlas game I played. Well, it depends. Mischief Makers, if I remember correctly, was an Atlas game. I'll have to double check that. Somebody fact checked me on this. So, Ogre Battle. Now, this is an interesting fact I did not know. Ogre Battle was... Tactics Ogre, I mean. The second one in the series was developed in 1995. Which is significant because after leaving Leaving Quest, I guess Quest did not lose the man, but the developer of maybe the first two games, I forget, I didn't look into it, went over and worked with Squaresoft, or Square Enix, I guess, nowadays, to create Final Fantasy Tactics in 1997. So the same engine that was developed to create Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together, was then the one that went and developed Final Fantasy Tactics, which I think is very interesting. Thank you guys for joining us. Let me know in the chat if there's any sort of delay or anything. I think I have fixed all of the issues that I've had before in the past with these terrible, terrible lagging delays, but please let me know if you notice anything. So, Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, which is one of the strangest names I've ever heard. That's cool. The reason I'm going back through this is not only because it was one of my favorite games ever when I was younger in the early 2000s. I believe this came out in 2000. But because I also have discovered that there is... Oh, good. It's working so much better. That's what I like to hear. That there is a hidden morality system in this game that determines which of the... Some people say 6 endings. I believe there are really just 3 endings in particular. There's kind of a good ending, there's a mediocre ending, and there's a evil or chaotic ending. Look at those little hamburger heads, as my wife calls them. And in there's also slight variations on those. So that's where the people come up with the 6 endings. There's like 2 versions of the good ending, 2 versions of the bad ending, 2 versions of the mediocre ending. Based on how you end up performing in this chaos frame or morality meter on the game. This has nothing to do with the chaotic and lawful meter that you see, alignment meters that you see a lot of times in RPGs, Dungeons and Dragons being a prominent one. This has everything to do with, let's take a look at the stronghold, how you handle strongholds. You'll notice that this stronghold has a morale meter there. It's a 40. Imagine that this 40 is on an alignment meter, with lower numbers being chaotic up to lawful. 40 would be somewhere in the middle, you know, neutral alignment, if you will. That means that if you're trying to help the town out, that's not right, then you would want to liberate it, not capture it, right? You notice Randy Savage, our main character, his alignment, which is just over to the left of his name, neutral. All these guys are neutral, so that's great. That means Randy Savage is a perfect candidate to wander into this town because you have to have someone with a similar alignment to match up with the morale of the town in order to liberate it and not capture it. Liberating towns is positive movement on the chaos frame. Both of these classes are neutral. This is only the second mission in the game, so it would make sense that most everyone is pretty neutral to begin with. Liberating towns is good, capturing towns is bad. The more you can liberate a town, then the higher you get on the chaos frame, the better score you get, and you end up getting the best possible outcome. You want to have those little hamburger heads in your party as often as possible, even as you keep going later in the game, because the more battles you fight in, then the higher chance it is that these guys turn into your main soldiers and Amazons, those little archers. Fighters are your base male unit. Amazons are your base female unit. And again, if you didn't join us the last time around, yeah, look at that critical hit by that little dude. Combat in this game is not really real time. You set up your unit beforehand. You structure it a particular way, and that's how you fight. That's how you combat. A little bit different than other gameplay, some of the other games. This one, I'm gonna get Dio to try to focus on this little cleric who's trying to be sneaky. I feel a sneeze coming on, which is not good. Ooh, Lord have mercy. See, Sanal has been liberated. That's what we want to do. You also notice that Sanal here has a witch den. Now, if one of your units were to fall into battle, then when you exit the battle, yeah, Tyler's here now. If you exit the battle, then you run the risk of that character becoming an undead unit. If you want an undead unit, like a zombie or a ghost or somebody, then, I mean, that's good. That's fine. If you want to bring that unit back, you need to make sure that before you leave the battle, and guarantee that you come here to a witch den. And you revive those fallen in battle. Pretty cool. It is Stream Break here on Super Squad D. We got all kinds of streams going on. Gonna be doing some of this retro gaming. Gonna be playing some stuff like Fortnite, probably. I don't know what else. We got anything available to us, really. If any of you have any ideas of what you'd want to see on the channel, bring it on. Tell us in the comments, and we'll do it. Now here in this situation, I'm actually going to switch it up and make Dio, who was going to attack that cleric, I'm going to make him go and liberate this town. And the reason I'm doing that is because we will, he was a little bit higher, the first guy, Dietrich, I believe, he was a little bit too high on the alignment. This town was right in the middle, and he was erring a little bit more towards kind of neutral, or kind of on the lawful end of things instead of the neutral end of things. This town is right in the middle. So I'm going to send someone who has a completely neutral alignment. to go up there and take over that town, as opposed to the guy that we were looking at. Golf will happen this week. For those of you who missed the SSD Bad Golf Invitational, it was a riveting time. But then we discovered some great courses that would really work well, I think, on the live stream. Scott is asking about Jackbox games with the audience. I don't think that is showing up on the screen for whatever reason. The full comment. I'm gonna blame the interns for this one. I bet I can just work on this one myself. Boom. There we go. Problem solved. Jackbox games. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what Jackbox games are. That is... Remind me. Because I'm always down with that. We found a pretty sick, disgusting sick, putt-putt. What is Dietrich doing? He's supposed to go attack this plant. Putt-putt course on the Golf Club 2 game that we've been playing. That is terrifying and hilarious and would make for a great stream. Ishro, morale 43. So it'd be helpful to send another neutral unit in here for this one. Let's check and see what Randy Savage, make sure he is neutral. His alignment hasn't moved around much. We'll probably send him down here. And then once Diomedes is done with whatever this is he's doing, we're going to send another unit to help cover that town. Here's another thing about it. If a town that you've liberated gets captured by an enemy, that actually hurts your chaos frame score even more. So you want to make sure you avoid any of that if you can. I discovered, and I actually was telling Alex, who's in the chat here with us, I was telling him that I think I discovered a connection between interesting. I discovered a connection between my early childhood love of strategy games. Warcraft were some of the first games that I really got heavy into. Loved strategy, real-time strategy stuff. And then stuff like this, Final Fantasy Tactics, was the reason that I bought a PlayStation. I never really cared much for the PlayStation at first, but I played Final Fantasy Tactics at a friend's house and said, oh my gosh, I need this in my life. So I got a PlayStation just for that. And I think that early love of strategy games is what led to the way that I play most games now. If I were to play a sports game, while I enjoy, you know, I guess running around with my players on the field or on the court or something, I get most of my enjoyment out of the opportunity to just be the manager of everything and to set up rosters the way I want them set and all that really nerdy stuff. And I think it all came down to the fact that I played so many strategy games when I was younger, and I fell in love with the strategy of it, not so much the that's why I'm terrible at fighting games. Tyler is really good at fighting games, and I'm absolutely terrible at them. So I avoid fighting Tyler in any games. So Fibbage, Drawful, you set up on your Xbox, PS, and then people play using their phones. I'm going to look into this. I'm very curious about this. This sounds like it could be awesome. And I think maybe we look into it and plan on one of the streams later in the week being one that we do with people. In the evening when people are free. Really just make it a full event. Go all out with it. Play the game. Really promote it so people will know that it's going on. Good idea, Scott. We'll do that one of these evenings. So, I'm sure I would know it when I see it. Doesn't mean I'm going to openly admit it, though. Oh, this is something I need to point out. You see this guy? This is a neutral town. You can tell because there's no army emblem above the head of it. Barbara. Above the right corner there. For one of these other towns. Look at that. There's a little red eagle. Or falcon or hawk or something. I guess it doesn't have to be an eagle. Did I just stereotype birds? I might have. Really might have. You don't want to ever go into a neutral town. That counts instantly as a capture and as a negative hit on the chaos frame. And I think I mentioned before, but the only real way that you can tell whether or not you are making the right progress on the chaos frame comes in a few moments in the story in which characters that you interact with say something in particular that kind of tip you off. That's it. There's no way to measure it during the course of the game, which means it's very tricky, and that's why when I was younger, I screwed up and just kind of got the worst possible ending because I had no idea what I was doing. So I trained all these incredibly powerful units, and my army was untouchable, just could not be defeated. But everything sucked at the end because I basically sent the kingdom into chaos, having a low chaos frame score. These battles could take a little while. Oh yeah, wipe her out. So several years back, I was visiting some friends who lived out of town. And one of the friends' mothers went to a garage sale and found this person, apparently this garage sale was just, I don't know, throwing away a bunch of old Nintendo 64 stuff, which was astounding to me. I was like, I'm sorry, what now? Just getting rid of it. And so my friend's mom got the 64 and a bunch of controllers and a bunch of games, including Paper Mario. And my friend was kind enough to let me have Paper Mario, even though it was the one game in the collection that he actually really wanted himself. I was like, oh man, Paper Mario, I like that. And he said, oh, okay, you can have it. Oh yeah, something I needed to do. I believe this place had a shop. One of the items that came with all of this is, I'm going to buy a few more of these to make sure I have basic stuff available for anybody that wants to become a fighter. Apparently you have to have the natural or like the basic equipment for fighters or for Amazons when they in order for soldiers to turn into them. So I just want to make sure I have all of that. I also need to buy a lot of healing equipment. Good thing it is cheap. Yeah, go ahead. Just carry one of them apparently. Whoops, did that wrong. Okay, whatever. So one of the items that came in this whole Nintendo 64 collection was a Game Shark. And I never had a Game Shark when I was a kid. So I was pretty excited about having a chance to play around with the Game Shark. And then I just kind of never used it. I've had it for years now. That system, those controllers, all those games that came with it. Never used the Game Shark. And so I decided to use it some. What's taking him so long? Do you know? Oh yeah, this is important. As it turns out, this town is where the prince is being held. And just so you know, the prince and the main character of the game are childhood friends. Don't be alarmed by that. So I decided, not on this game, I'm not doing it on this one, obviously. But I have 2 games going on Ogre Battle 64 right now. And one of them I used the Game Shark to heavily cheat just to play around with it some. While I play seriously on this game. And some of the cheats on there are the ability to just kind of assign character classes to, you know, any of the characters. And I started off a game with a whole bunch of like end-game character classes and equipment, and it's been pretty fun just to wreck things. I can, if you ever want to see any of that, I can definitely stream some of that sometime. But this is the important one now. Ishiro's been liberated. That's another positive. Gotta have those positive Chaos Frame bumps. Creepy old man. This guy, he's a turd. There's the prince. Anyone here played, what's it called? Keep Talking and No One Explodes or something like that? Oh, language warning raid. I had the opportunity to play Keep Talking and No One Blows Up, or whatever it's called. Someone fact check me on it. I had an opportunity to play that in virtual reality not long ago when visiting my in-laws. They don't have it. A friend had it, whatever. And it was some of the most fun I think I've ever had with a game. With a stressful game. So I feel like that's something that we should definitely play. Somehow, if we can get away with it online. But there's a lot of lag involved. It was a lot of fun. And it's especially funny playing a game like that and seeing the communication skills of the people playing. Yeah, we took turns. I had the headset on for some of it. I had the manual out for others, and it's great. I mean, you start to get the feel of it in terms of what you really need to do pretty quickly in terms of like who's best at what job, that sort of stuff. You know, there's some manual explanations that I was much better at than others, and there's some jobs that other people are much better at than I am. Alright, so now that I've rescued the prince, I'm now supposed to go down there and take over the mine. So we're going to do that. This guy's just going to keep trying to attack Randy Savage. I'm just going to keep fighting him off. Alright, so what we're seeing so far is on Stream Break we want to have Extreme Putt-Putt on the Golf Course 2. The Golf Course 2 is supposed to be a highly realistic golf-like simulator game. I don't know if the physics on it are accurate to how a golf ball would actually work in real life. But I have fun with it. And it is incredibly infuriating as well. So, what is this? 55? Yeah, everyone's right in the middle in terms of alignment. Tyler. That's DDR and yoga pants. I don't own any yoga pants, but I could try to find some MC Hammer parachute pants. I can work with that. If that works for you. So some party games, some putt-putt, DDR in yoga or parachute pants. Alright, these are good suggestions. We can do all this. Tyler and I are definitely going to try to play some Fortnite. If anyone has Fortnite on the PlayStation or PC, because apparently there's like an unofficial way you can cross-play between those. Feel free to join us on that. Holla at us, and we'll try to get on there. Fortnite. We are terrible. We are possibly the worst Fortnite players in the world. So it makes for a lot of fun. Look out, kitty. Kitty, look out. Now this is important. Alright, these guys both ended up looking at each other, but you set up your formations in a certain way, and if you're not careful in battle, you end up... Why aren't they attacking the leader? Did I have them selected to do something else? Oh. What was I saying? Oh yes. If they get caught off to the side, then the formation's completely thrown off, which is not fun. Can you play without plus? I don't think so, because plus is kind of... Isn't plus necessary for any sort of multiplayer? That's kind of how I understood it. I could have that wrong. How nice of you to join us, Dietrich. More like douche trick. No, sorry, that didn't make any sense. There's another town down here. We'll take out 58. Dio's still pretty neutral, so that should work just fine. So we'll send him down here to this stronghold and let him liberate that thing. See? Liberated again. One of the... I do want to give this shout out while it's on my mind. But there is a great guide on the Chaos Frame. On how to work the Chaos Frame itself. That was made in the early 2000s on like GameFAQs or NeoSeeker by Beth Mabels, aka Dancing Elf, who Beth is a saint, and she has basically went through like Ogre Battle 64. I mean, God only knows how many times she played through it. And basically had a guide to everything. And it was really... She's apparently the greatest resource, and all of her facts are on NeoSeeker. I believe Ogre Battle 64 has been released for Virtual Console on like the Wii U last year. So anyone who wants to play this, I mean, I'm obviously playing on the, you know, my original system from when the Nintendo 64 was released. But it's available on the Wii U if you're into that. And yeah, Scott, you should absolutely do that. Get you another month. How much does a month of Plus cost? Because I've only ever bought the yearly subscriptions. I don't know. That's right, I forgot this guy had himself. Willie had some sort of demon dog Cerberus thing going on here. Take that griffin down. That was easy. don't know. I don't know really. Doesn't look like there's anyone. Oh, fine, Randy. Doesn't look like there's anyone guarding that town, so that'll be interesting. Alright. Let's hope this is a liberation. Good. Should also be noted that when you capture a town, you can go into the town and talk with people. And most of the time, they don't have anything to say. Such as that guy. Very helpful. But there are a few like side characters that you'll only find if you wander into towns and talk with people. So you kind of want to check all the towns. Now, granted, at this point in time, there's really no reason to dig into it and try to discover this. You can just get on the internet because, you know, people like Dancing Elf herself have put out all the most detailed guides that you could possibly want on how to get every character in the game. This guy set up camp like 10 feet from the town. Like, he can see the town right in front of him and went, you know what, guys, I just can't do it. I gotta take a break. Get out, Willie. Stop being a lazy bones. I don't know if anyone's ever used cdkeys.com to purchase anything. I've used CD keys. Sometimes they have sales on like PlayStation Plus or Xbox Gold, that sort of stuff. And you buy it and they literally just like email you the CD key. And so it seems really sketchy. I've never had an issue with it. But has anyone ever shopped on places like that? Because I bought something off of there. Maybe PlayStation Gold? Look at CAD. They get some strange names in this game. Did I say PlayStation Gold a second ago? I have in my head that I did. Or maybe I didn't, but maybe I should have. So anytime you have a boss fight, you have to defeat the leader. And if you don't get the leader all the way down to 0, then you lose, no matter how much damage you inflicted on everyone involved. So if my archer doesn't do 15, which she didn't, I'm donezo. Even though he's got 2 health left, I've lost the battle. Because leaders, you have to beat them. Silly boss fights. I think we got time to try to get through maybe one more mission, because I believe that after this is when we're done with the prologue of it all. And I'm not going to stream, you know, every battle, because some of these battles take... I mean, this guy's got 15 health. Let's see if I can beat this quickly. Some of these battles will take like an hour apiece to get through it all. It's such a detailed game. And I don't want to deal with that on the air, and I'm sure you guys don't. So I'm not going to play all of these on the stream, but I am definitely going to play some of the key moments, stuff that really kind of tells you where you are on the chaos frame. And that's the important moments. I love this game so much. Look at that. I mean, you win, and fireworks just come flying out of your character's pockets. It's like all the good stuff of Super Mario. You know, you get the flagpole and sometimes fireworks pop up. You get fireworks every time here. Here's a key establishing scene. Thanks for saving us. Mm. Tell me your name is Randy Savage. Are you the same Ran? There's only one Randy Savage, you know. May he rest in peace. This one's for you, Randy. So you figure out that this guy Raid, or as I like to call him, Rade. He really details right here the plight of the caste system here in the kingdom of Palatinius. There's really stark contrast between upper and lower class here. Another thing about this is in the Ogre Battle lore, this is just one little kingdom, Palatinius, that exists inside of the Holy Lotus Empire. And apparently the Empire is fairly corrupt or something, because it seems the entire... And this guy is kicking him. It seems the entire game series is based entirely around trying to defeat the Lotus Empire, the Holy Lotus Empire, and gain freedom. So, this is the Kingdom of Palatinius is where this one takes place. And you're trying to... you know, there's this anger and conflict. Ooh, Randy Savage stepping in front of Rade. You're trying to, you know, defeat the... Eventually, you're trying to break free of the control of the Lotus Empire. Nobody seems to like the Empire. The lower caste hates the upper class. You can tell how much of a jerk Raid is based on the shape of his sideburns. Speaking of hair, how about Randy Savage's Jedi Padawan braid he's got going on there? And his purple hair, it's pretty nice. Also, you can tell he's a jerk because of the way they've angled his portrait. Like, no character in any Japanese RPG ever has that sharp angle like this without being a tool. The lineage of the progenitor. Ooh, see, nobody likes anybody in this game. He's talking trash about the upper class and Lotus. Alright. Sweet sword. And then Fabio arrives. Now, this is a significant moment very early in the game. I mean, this is right after the second level. This is really huge for anyone who has played like the original March of the Black Queen game. Then you kind of learn, and so this is a big moment because it turns out all of these characters are from that game. That is actually the main protagonist from the first game. So you figure out where in like the timeline of things this happens. In like the history of the games. They're more connected than, you know, Final Fantasy games or anything, so that's pretty cool. So this would have been cool for anyone that played March of the Black Queen, because they would have played this and gone, oh man, look at that. Destin from the first game, along with, you know, Saradin and Aisha and Debonair, the blonde Fabio guy. They all just showed up from the first game. How cool. And that's neat, because you don't often see that, you know, type of connection amongst some of these. Due to the Southern Division's actions, the attempt to assassinate Prince Yumila of Olmus resulted in failure. The incident concluded with the public execution of the mastermind. Rumors spread among the population that they executed a person who had no relation to the incident to save face. Meanwhile, expected to dwindle, the rebels' activities have instead intensified and become more violent than ever. Silly rebels. Okay, so that's just a little girl over there in like the right-hand side of that circle, right? Like there's a knight, and then there's very clearly a child with a broom plotting revenge and revolution as well. And these guys have no problem with that. Like, I get the lower classes being oppressed or whatever, but do they really need to bring in their own children? It just kind of seems kind of mean to me. I don't know. Unable to turn back, speechless and itinerant. I forgot that this game had some of the strangest dialogue choices. I mean, first of all, the game is called Person of Lordly Caliber. So there's that, you know. But then that, literally the heading for Act 1 of this entire game, it just said, unable to turn back, speechless and itinerant. Which, if you look it up, basically just means moving from town to town. So, anyway, here's General Goddessless. You can tell that he knows what he's doing based off of that mustache. And I know his hair's kind of slicked back a little bit, but I'm pretty sure that dude is rocking a blonde mullet with a sweet stash as well. Alright. Tuatha. So now we get into the actual game, and can't do anything better than that. And basically now you're a captain in the Southern Division trying to stop the Revolutionary Army from this open revolt. So one thing that's important, I mentioned this before, and you know, then we get to go in and have fun in the organized screen. Now we didn't have any soldiers get promoted, which is a shame this time around, but that doesn't mean that we can't go around and look to see if any of these little fighters here can be, you know, turned into knights or beast tamers. Obviously, they have to be a certain level in order to upgrade, because you notice their vitality and strength rating up there in the top left is not high enough. What a shame. The rapper Drake right here is not high enough. Yeah, it looks like, I don't remember, I think you really got to be like a level 5 or something before you can really become a knight, if I remember correctly. Oops. And these guys are all pretty much level 3s. Which is fine, because outside of combat, you can train your units. Let's see, did we pick up any sweet items? Yeah. So let's just say, for example, that we want to train Dio's unit, because if we need somebody that has lower alignment, then one of the ways that you have a more chaotic alignment on the scale is to be a higher level than the enemies you're fighting and kind of bully them around a little bit. So if you overtrain your units, then your units will, you know, slowly drop down and down and down in the alignment, because you are, you know, you're just bossing people around. So in training, you fight through the entire thing, and you don't stop until everyone has been defeated. on your team or in the training team. So a lot of times if I'm training and I just want to speed things along, I just turn the battle animations off and just boom. You don't have as much running around like that. It just kind of makes things a little bit faster. But we do have sweet sound effects and everything still. And they might kill a Dio if we aren't careful. Nice. Oh, never mind. Okay, forget that. So now we have some guys level up. You cannot get soldiers to... you cannot get soldiers to become, you know, full-fledged dudes in training, but training has its own benefits regardless. And then Hugo staring at things. Alright, there we go. I gotta take a break from streaming here, but now we've made it through the prologue and you understand the basics of Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, or you should understand it. If you don't, that's not my problem. We'll continue this stream later on. I'm going to go ahead and try to... I got a few things to take care of now, but I'm going to go ahead and try to play through a few more levels while I'm not working, and try to get us to a more significant battle soon enough. But before I go, I'm going to turn it back over and let you watch Homestar Runner's Kids Don't Play With Too Many Knives Spring Break rap one more time. For SSD and Stream Break, I'm Joseph Craven. Stay tuned to SSD. We'll be back on later today with more streaming goodness. Thanks for watching. I'll catch all you guys later on.
Put your pants back on, Blue Laser!
How could you possibly refer to these as pants?
Ha 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 ha! Cheat Commandos, riggedy roll!
That's not what we usually say.
Whatever, it's riggedy roll from now on. Buy all our playsets and toys! Hi, kids! I'm Crack Stuntman! I'm the voice of the gun shaver on Cheat Commandos, here with an important rap song about safety and spring break. Bust it! Well, you're a rich kid living in the suburbs and there's not a whole lot to do. You stroll into the kitchen and what do you find? A bunch of knives cold staring at you. So, kids, don't play with too many knives. Come on, Crack Stuntman. Gonna save some lives. It's spring break. Curly's running wild. Jet to the beach wearing the freshest styles. Meet a bunch of kids from Alabama. Beach volleyball, slam-a-jamma. Putt-putt, go-karts, bungee jumping. Crack Stuntman keeps the bass bumping. Pooh, ha-ha-ha-ha. Pooh, ha-ha-ha-ha. Pooh, ha-ha-ha-ha. Pooh, ha-ha-ha-ha. Pooh, ha-ha-ha-ha. Pooh, ha-ha-ha-ha. Pooh, pooh, ha-ha-ha-ha. Holla for $1. Shout for some clout. Somebody say holla for $1. Let's turn this party out. Bonfire on the beach and people start to dance. Find a fly curly for some beach romance. But then a fresh honey comes walking by. How can a man choose between fresh and fly? And believe me, there is a difference. Throw your hands in the air for some high fives. And kids, don't play with too many knives. And I am out. Download